Welcome to the Cosmetic Podcast.
This podcast amplifies the topics you want to hear about.
Cosmetic means being a person or thing that gives rise to a phenomenon that is dynamic or energizing.
Globally minded and locally focused.
I'm Rodrigo Ross.
I'm Keith Benson.
So today we are talking about stick and move.
And what is that?
Stick and move. It's like what they do in football.
Not quite, but go ahead.
In sports.
Okay. Let's go with boxing.
Oh.
So boxing with the stick and move, like think about Mike Tyson and bam, just hit, bam. You gotta swing with that left or that right, and then move out the way because they're gonna counter on the other side.
Oh, well, that's what I said. It's sports.
Right.
Well, but for today's purpose, we're talking about leadership agility.
Gotcha.
Stick and move, right? With leadership agility. This ability to effectively take action in complex and rapidly changing conditions. And goodness, this pandemic has probably made this skill set so valuable.
Yeah, because that type of leader, they have to generate confidence. I mean, when you're talking about right now during this pandemic and the decisions that our CEOs, COOs, they have to make across the board, they have to come across with this confidence and empathy to go along with that.
Yeah. And they have to, I feel like sometimes because many people got into a space where they were clicking on all cylinders, right? And they were really proficient at their job and they were doing it. And for the most part, you could answer all of the questions that were thrown at you. But this pandemic was like new and no one knew what to expect and no one knew what the answers were. And it was changing minute by minute. I think for some people, they may have felt a little exposed, like, oh, wow, I haven't worked this muscle, so I don't really know how to just pivot and switch like that.
Well, I gotta say that you were pretty agile during this time because
my stick and move.
Yeah, you man, because you went with that callous initiative and it just took off.
But I will say that if someone asks me how did I do that, I think it's because I always try to make sure that I'm always being creative and responsive to what's going on, like not just getting in a rut and kind of getting on autopilot.
Right.
Like you're always flexing that muscle and trying to respond to what's new, what's now, and what's happening.
I mean, because life is really fast.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just ever changing, especially right now. I mean, at some point we'll be out of this, but it's no time soon that we're going to be out of this. But even before all of this, it's really still calls for leaders to be agile because since 2000, 52% of Fortune 500 companies no longer exist.
Wow, half of them?
Yeah.
Since 2000. Wow.
And so that leader has to, again, change. And so also right now, 75% of all venture capital funded startups, they don't survive.
Man, 3/4. Like, and would you go after something, right? Like, would you do something if you knew that you had a 75% chance of it not being successful?
Well, see, that leader, though, the agile leader, they go on the side of that 25%.
Because I would do it.
This going to succeed.
I sure would do it. I would do it. And so, in all of the publications and the countless articles and books and all that kind of stuff, they always talk about all these different kinds of leadership styles, right? So let me give you a couple of leadership styles. The expert, right? This is the person that knows what they're doing. They're tactical. They problem solve. They get in. What's the problem? This is the solution. Let's make it happen. The achiever, right? Someone who is outcome oriented, right? Like they look at the goal. Everything they do is towards getting at that outcome. The catalyst, which is the visionary. I think that's me, right? And so they facilitate, growth and moving towards a vision. The co-creator, they're the kind of leader that wants to bring everyone together, get these shared ideas, get this collective energy and make things happen. And then the synergist who makes sure that whatever they're doing is closely aligned with their personal passion, right? And while I absolutely agree with all of those different types of leadership styles, I really think someone needs to write this new job description or characteristic description, so to speak, of the agile leader, right? And talk about the things that an agile leader will need.
And so when you talk about that expert, just kind of float back through all of these different styles that we're talking about. That expert, that's that person that's going to navigate pivotal conversations. And so when we think about what we all just went through and what we are experiencing right now, I mean, that narrative is still being written right now. And so that type of leadership style, that expert, is pivotal right now because of where we are.
Absolutely. I mean, in all of them. And then, on any given day, you may start the morning as an achiever, but then by the afternoon, you're a co-creator, right? And then by the end of the day, you're like, is this really what I want to do? I got to just figure out where to line up, where's the alignment in all of this work. But that leadership agility, no matter what your leadership style is, you got to kind of keep that muscle worked out and strong, because as this pandemic and then this bubbling up of social unrest, as it has shown us like never before, you just can't guarantee or count on, one day being exactly like the day before.
And there's different drivers that's going to help this with that agile leadership. So when we think about integrity, that's the very foundation of an agile leader. And so if you don't have integrity, it is just hard to be able to have people to have that confidence in you, that in order for you to be able to lead people through things such as what's going on right now.
And it's going to help you explain why sometimes you're going counterculture, right? Because a lot of the decisions, especially the ones that I've seen made during this pandemic, it was born out of integrity, not necessarily what some people viewed were necessities.
Yeah. And another one is innovation. I mean, you have to be creative in that space as a leader, because right now, beforehand, for the YMCA Metropolitan Dallas, for an example, we went from a $66 million operation to what we're projecting to be a $36 million operation.
Right.
You have to have innovation when you lose
what's
$30 million.
What's going to get us $30 million back, right? It's not going to be what got it for us the first time.
We got to figure that out. And then, as that leader also, you got to have this sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Like, something has to change. You cannot move at the same pace that you did before.
That is so true. I will tell you, when we were thinking through the Catalyst stuff, much of the feedback and the thoughts that I got was like, well, okay, let's think about this, or let's do this in this many days. And I was like, no, we need to do this now. Like, this needs to happen right now. And I think some people probably looked at me side eyes like, girl, it's a pandemic. Would you calm down? We don't even really have all of the pieces. But there was that sense of urgency that I knew just would not allow us to sit on the sidelines, because a couple of things could have happened. We would have just missed our opportunity, right? We would have got lackadaisical and we probably wouldn't have done it. Or someone would have jumped out and did it, and then it would have been irrelevant. It's like, oh, well, we kind of missed that opportunity.
And if you're that type of leader that has a sense of urgency, what's going to happen is that you're going to engage more people.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be about, what the title may be.
Right.
So whether you're the CEO, whether you're the program director, when the time comes to get involved, that agile leader is going to be that one that engages everybody to be able to make those different moves.
So, okay, but here's the thing. So, how do you tell the difference in a leader between urgency and being pushy?
I mean, you got to go back up to, when we talk about that driver, the different drivers, and we talk about a person who has integrity. The person who has integrity is going to come across in such a way, because their consistency of the way that they work, people are going to know that difference between pushy and being urgent.
Yeah,
things
like
need
the
to be
fire.
Urgent. Yeah.
Okay. I struggle with that one, because you always want to create this sense of urgency, but you don't want to ever be pushy. Right?
Because if you're pushy, people are going to know that you're pushy.
Yeah, I guess pushy might be you're trying to get at this thing by yourself, but creating a sense of urgency could be you're trying to get at it with other people. You're bringing folks
Well,
along.
That's what engagement
I love
come
it.
in at.
Okay, look, I done learned a thing or two today.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Man, lots going on when you think about being an agile leader. That having that ability to be able to be very fluid with what you do, moving with that level of integrity, that ability to engage many people in that. I mean, that's a different type of leader.
Yeah, and so I'm probably going to mess this quote up so bad, but you're going to understand. Like someone said, if you want to go somewhere, go by yourself, but if you want to go far, go with other folks or something like that. Like you get it. You
gotta have people to go along with you, because if you don't, I mean, you're just out there. Who are you leading if you're out there by yourself?
That is so deep.
Man, you're just running and running.
Are you a leader if you by yourself?
I'm leading. Well, I guess maybe it's your shadow that you lead.
Well, I mean, it's possible. That was real deep, Keith.
crazy. I mean, so people, we got to get to this place where we have that leadership ability to be agile in our movement as a leader.
Yeah, seizing the moment, right? Like not just sitting and waiting for things to get back to the way they used to be, or waiting for some semblance of, what used to be normal, because what if it doesn't ever go back to that? Then what are you doing?
It won't go back to that. And so those who are sitting around hoping and wishing that will come back, then they're going to find themselves probably in a little different position.
So what do you do if you are just like really uncomfortable with that rate of change that fast?
Well, everybody has a place.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to find it. So if you're not comfortable with that rate of change, then you're probably not going to be the one that is leading whatever initiative there may be. Mm-hmm. But hopefully you're smart enough to be able to find your spot where you can show your value in this change that's going on.
Yeah, lead, follow, or get out of the way, huh?
Yeah. And in this situation now, there's a lot of people that want to, be in the game right now.
I tell you, and I think this, with so many people who are looking to change careers, whether it's by choice or by circumstance, whether it's some people who are looking to make sure that people recognize their value in their current situations, like you really have to look at how agile you are as a leader and how valuable you are for today's real world leadership challenges, not something that existed last year, last 5 years, or 10 years ago. Like, what are you bringing to the table today?
Yeah, you got to find your place, and then have that ability to remove barriers. Mm-hmm. Like, there's some things that hey, I may not be the strongest, I may not have the strong skill set in this area right there. Mm-hmm. So I got to figure out how do I remove that barrier right there. Mm-hmm. If that's not through what I can do, well, then maybe I can be a support to somebody else that can move that barrier, whatever that may be, that's in my way.
Right. You just not kick it over? That's no.
Well,
because that's what I would do. I would just kick it down.
Well, that's because you are the agile leader right there.
Well, come on then. That's what we should have called this. Rod is an agile leader. That's the name of the podcast.
Yeah, that's why you are Madam VP now.
Well, I'll take that. I
mean, so much going on out there. Love to hear what you guys are experiencing out there. Why don't you give us some feedback at ymcadallas.org/Cosnetic. Thank you for listening to Cosnetic,
where our conversations are global,
globally minded, and locally focused.
And once again, give us your feedback. Let us hear what you think an agile leader can do at www.ymcadallas.org/Cosnetic.
And as always,
stay dynamic,
stay energized,
stay Cosnetic.